But copper is used in much more than wiring. Copper's resistance to corrosion makes it great for roofing and pipes. Its ability to conduct heat is why it's used in cookware and your car's radiator. Copper conducts electricity better than any other metal except silver. It's used to generate and carry electrical power. Almost everything that uses electricity has copper in it. That makes copper the basic building block of today's high technology. From its use in CAT scanners to automobiles to the space shuttle, copper is one of our most important natural resources. And it's one of the most recyclable metals on Earth. The percentage of copper is low because the ore comes from what geologists call a porphyry ore body. This means that millions of years ago, molten rock and superheated water forced their way into the existing rock. The water carried dissolved metals from deep in the earth, like gold, silver, and especially copper. As the molten magma and metal-laden fluid worked their way upward, they cooled. The magma became rock, and the metals were deposited in very small quantities in the rock. Now, 38 million years first, workers drill a series of holes in the mine and take core samples from hundreds of feet in the ground. Geologists look at these drill cores and determine the type and quality of the ore. Mining engineers use this information to create a computer-generated model of the ore deposit that shows the grade and location of the ore and the waste rock. Blasting then begins on the bench area, where large holes are drilled in a pattern. Each hole is 55 feet deep and filled with about 1,000 pounds of explosives.
¿Todo despejado, Clay?
No, veo a dos operarios.
Un simple trozo de roca que saliera volando podría matar a una persona.
10-4. Atención a todo el personal. Se va a efectuar la explosión.
Cuando el equipo de seguridad lo cree oportuno, llega la hora de apretar el botón.
Loosens about 180,000 tons of rock, which is then scooped up by a gigantic electric or hydraulic shovel. The largest shovels are 6 stories high and can lift the equivalent weight of 40 pickup trucks in a single pass, about 98 tons. The rock is then loaded into massive haul trucks. The largest trucks can carry 250 to 320 tons. They're roughly the size of a house. This equipment moves about 450,000 tons of ore and waste rock every day.
Here, a 250-ton haul truck is being used with a modern hydraulic shovel.
Or 160 million tons per year. A traffic controller uses a computer to monitor the entire operation, coordinating the movements of every shovel and haul truck, including water trucks for dust control. Most of the copper-bearing ore is then delivered to the huge gyratory crusher in the pit, which breaks the ore into pieces less than 10 inches across. The crushed ore is transported 5 miles on a series of conveyor belts, including one through a 3-mile tunnel, and is deposited in a protected stockpile at Raider. At this point, the ore contains less than 1% copper.
Water is delivered by pipeline from 100 miles high in the Andes. Obviously scarce, each gallon of water is recycled and used 8 times before eventually ending up in highly acidic ponds. Reflecting the sky, the water appears aquamarine blue, but its cleanliness is belied by the thick black sludge that rims the sides of the holding tanks.
Because the valuable metal is present only in small amounts.
The concentration varies. We try to find the strata with higher concentrations of copper. They usually lie a little deeper.
Seeper in the mountains is no easy feat. The equipment has to function even in extreme weather conditions. Technicians perform regular checks on the conveying equipment. The belts operate around the clock, moving about 9,000 tons of ore every hour. If the conveyor belt stopped, the entire mine would grind to a halt.
then mixed with water, reagents, and air, which cause the copper, along with gold, silver, molybdenum, and other minerals, to stick to these air bubbles in the flotation cells. When the bubbles float off the top, they are collected, and that liquid is called concentrate, which is now 28% copper.
Process. The concentrate is first dried in this large rotating dryer and then sent
dryer, then transferred to storage bins.
Before feeding the concentrate to a storage bin, samples are drawn from each batch for onward communication to smelters.
Can you test for more than one metal at a time, or just one at a time in Bay machines? You aspirate your sample up into the flame, you pass a beam of light through, and the machine measures the absorbance of light, how much light is it absorbed in comparison to that standard, and we can calculate a value, how much copper in this furnace, 8,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. Very easy to do. Can't hold that too long.
No, that is something else.
Temperature?
the ground rock that is left over is called tailings and is transported 13 miles through a poundment uses modern technology to minimize airborne dust.